Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first installment of Make Podcasting Great Again. This is our podcast for our fantasy league, Make Fantasy Great Again, founded in 2016. As you can see above, you will see my lovely co-host, Mr. Gavin Alexander, and below me, you will see the one, the only Jacob Katzenberg, aka Katzpom.
What's up?
We got a great show for you today as we're going to introduce everyone in the league coming back for season 6. Without further ado, Gavin, will you please hit that music?
Oh, I don't have the music pulled up, to be honest.
Never mind. We'll get straight into the slideshow. We don't need no damn music up in here. So we're going to go by alphabetical order today. We're going to start with the one, the only Austin Davis, who failed to get me a headshot. He's entering his 6th season in the league. He finished 14th last season at a putrid 3-10. He's only made the playoffs one time in 2018, with the best finish of 4th place that year.
How the hell did he get 4th?
Because
So
Saquon
bad.
Barkley was on his team, Gavin.
I mean, just look at that record, though.
It's beautiful. 27 and 49.
When you think of Austin Davis, not a lot of success in the program history. Certainly, always has had really likes Pittsburgh Steelers, really likes Penn State guys. So,
Yep, big
that's
Pennsylvania
kind of
guy.
report on Austin Davis.
No, I thought that picture was perfect for him because that's how he looks when he drafts half the time. But speaking of how he's drafted in the past, is one interesting fact that is on this slideshow is next bullet.
Oh.
He once drafted the year that he was good. He drafted at his girlfriend's house while he was meeting his parents. So maybe.
Or is that just the story he's telling us because his draft was so bad?
I think
that was his best draft, though, Katz. So maybe he should draft distracted.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Maybe he should.
Girlfriend's dad probably helped him.
Probably. It would only make sense.
Felt bad for him. Let's move on here.
Oh,
That's
yes.
great.
Colby Nelson, the impeccable one. So Colby is entering his 5th season this year after finishing 2nd last year in a heartbreaker. He traded away his 4th and 5th round picks to make a run at the title and just fell very short, only putting up 50 points in the title game. Last year was only his 2nd playoff appearance ever, but it was his best season. And with the best season he had ever, now he's over 500. He will be keeping Derrick Henry, but funny enough, he's the only player to ever leave the league and then come back. What do we think about Colby this year, folks?
Colby, so he took a couple big swings last year. Obviously traded for Julio, traded for Michael Thomas, spent his 5th and his 4th round picks. Not a lot of draft capital this year. Could be a down year for Colby, people are saying, but what he's most famous for is obviously handing Sam free draft capital. So
right. He does do that
quite
often.
Some of that this year, I'd expect.
Well, I've heard through the grapevine that he might be trying to turn Derrick Henry into multiple players at the start of the year because he's suffering without his 4th and 5th round picks. So we'll have to see what happens with that.
I like the idea that PFF uses with creeping back towards average. And I think it's important to note that Colby's record overall before his 11-4 finish was well below 500. And I think that we see a lot of creeping back towards average of the season. So
I would say that, Kat said he might have a down season, but is that really a down season or is it a normal season?
It's just normal.
Ooh.
Which one was abnormal? So here we got Colton Hitch. He requested a photo of Donald Duck, and this one best signifies himself. He's entering his 6th season. He finished 9th place last year at a pretty, average 6-10. He's only made the playoffs one time in his 5 years here. His best finish was 6th place, so he's never won a playoff game. Overall, Colton stands at a 35-44 record, which is just not very good. And he will be keeping Jonathan Taylor this year, and we'll have to see where he ends up that's a kind of a risky keeper this year, considering he could end up taking him number 1 overall, but we don't know.
So you're saying Jonathan Taylor's going to end the season on IR?
Well, so what I'm going to
60%
say is
chance.
that, as you can see on the screen, Colton, 60% of the players that he's drafted in the first round have ended the season on IR or a different team. So Colton has a very bad track record of first-round picks.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, when I think of Colton, now he might not be the worst fantasy owner in the world. I don't think he's bad by any stretch of the mind. He has probably done the most amount of things that I disagree with, though.
Care to explain?
So he just doesn't. He never wants to admit when his team's not good enough to make the playoffs and ship off his team for draft capital. He always kind of is mediocre and just fails to swing one way or the other, as in fails to ship off his team for draft capital or fails to go all in when his team actually can compete.
He's got diamond hands, but for the wrong reasons.
Yes.
I would agree.
Well, I agree. So here we go with Dave. This is the elder statesman of the group. He's entering his 5th season in the league, and he was very bad last year, finishing in 12th place. He actually finished in the upper end of the consolation bracket, but then lost every game he played. But, oh well. So he's made the playoffs twice in 2017 and 19. So this could be a Dave year, folks. Dave always comes around in odd years.
Yeah, I mean,
Go ahead.
we'll have to see how auto draft does for him this year. I mean, you live by the auto draft, you die by the auto draft.
You're
Right.
dang right. Dave is, as shown, Dave has never made a pick in the 4 years that he's actually been here. He's only kept players and then auto drafted.
Stick to the meta, Dave.
I
Yep.
imagine the look Dave has on his face in that picture is kind of how he approaches the draft, just not really knowing what's going on and letting the computer do it for him.
Well, there was a rumor here for a while that he was going to keep Deshaun Watson potentially, which
That was also the face that he probably made. when
which
making that
would have been a
decision.
disaster. I don't think so. Next, we got Drew Moline. Drew is, as said, the rebel of the group. Drew loves to just go against the grain and not do anything to anything, really. He's entering the 3rd year in the league. Last year he finished 10th, and he's never made the playoffs. But he loves to brag about his 7th place finish the first year, where he finished like 12th and then won all of his consolation games.
Yeah, he likes to say he has a perfect postseason record. That's just because, well, one, doesn't fit his narrative last year, but 2, it's because he hasn't actually made the playoffs. So
Exactly.
He's won the most games that don't matter.
Exactly. So he is the people's champ of winning
People's
meaningless games.
champ.
So,
Well, it reflects on Drew. His overall record is 14 and 18, but if you take out all the consolation bracket games, it's like 9 and 17, I think.
yeah.
He also, going against the grain, as you saw, keeping Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a bold move, even in a league that is primarily Chiefs fans.
Yeah.
Not
And
as bold as this last point here.
It's
Yeah.
extremely bold knowing that he doesn't have his 4th round pick or
Or
a 6th
sixth.
round pick. So, I mean, he's basically taking a dude in the 1st round with second round ADP, and he's already deficient draft capital wise. So
And he'll be,
I don't know. He
and
loves
so,
to,
I mean, who knows what he'll be doing in the 2nd round.
yeah.
But, if it's anything like last year, he'll just take
Yeah.
2 quarterbacks because
Yeah.
he took
And then-
Mahomes last year at 2nd and Lamar at 30th, like a fucking idiot.
Yep. And per sources, he's looking at and entertaining the idea of a 2 tight end strat this year. So
What?
we'll see. Yeah, he's entertaining that idea.
I would
How?
love to see him get to the 5th round with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, George Kittle, and Darren Waller as his only picks that
Yes.
he's made this far.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
That just sounds like a disaster waiting to happen, which just sounds exactly like
Yeah.
what Drew would be doing.
Bingo.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah.
There he is, the fearless commissioner, Mr. Eli Miller. He has been here since the beginning, and He finished 5th last year, but he is a contender most seasons, finishing with 4 playoff appearances out of 5 years. Finished first in the first year, and he boasts the best record in the league at 48-30. Very impressive. His keeper will be Ezekiel Elliott this year, and he's the only player to ever win a title coming from the 6th seed. And I'm still salty about it because I was the 1 seed that year, and if I would have lost my last game of the season, he wouldn't have made the playoffs, and I would have won the title. But we don't need to talk about that.
Hey.
There is my beautiful co-host, Gavin, wearing a banana suit. He was just ready to go talk about himself, wasn't he? We just skipped over the commission like that. Yeah,
Yep.
Eli sucks anyways.
Yeah, I was actually going to say no comment for Eli. So.
I kind of figured that.
Well, Gavin, you want to talk about yourself, or do you want me to talk about you?
Sure, I can cover myself. This is obviously my 6th year in the league. Finished 3rd last year, and I unloaded a lot of draft capital to win my last game of the season, just not the one that I would have wanted to. I have finished first 1 time, as you can tell from the overall record and that last bullet point. My mantra in this league is usually to scratch and claw my way to the playoffs after being ravaged by injuries and then lose in the semifinals, which I've done the last 3 seasons. And it's very painful, and it's a very mentally taxing thing to come back every year knowing that just you're going to get to the semifinal game, lose, and then win 3rd place, because that seems to be what always happens. But I do take a lot of pride in always making the playoffs, although that's going to be a little bit more difficult this year.
It's a little bit like being a Packers fan, not gonna lie.
You could say I'm the Billy Bean of fantasy football. So
Well, you do make the most transactions. I believe 2 years ago when I kept track of every player on everyone's team that ever played, you had the most players by like 10. So Gavin loves himself some waivers, and I'm sure, no matter what happens in our draft lottery, he'll make a way to find a way to.
Yeah, he's the king of picking up a dude off waivers and then trading him.
Yeah, Gavin does love to do that. Gavin will pick up like a Wayne Gallman or something and trade him for like an 8th round pick, and then Wayne Gallman turns into a pumpkin 2 weeks later.
Yeah, that's right.
So, there's the other lovely co-host of us from the bottom of me. Would you like to talk about yourself, Mr. Katzenberg?
I mean, let's see here. I think I'm a steady competitor. This might be the year of the Cats. I'm just gonna say that right now. This is the year of the Cats. I've got 3 leagues. My first couldn't have been more happy with my first draft. Second draft coming up, so we'll see how it goes. I've dove deep in the analytics this year. Deep in the analytics. 2 months in the making of analytics this year. So yeah, I mean, I'm ready for another season. I think last year, just unfortunate, got murdered by injuries. Nobody could have expected anything out of their team with the amount of.
What did you change your team name to? I couldn't remember.
Yeah, by the end of the year, so we started off as a GOAT squad, and then we changed it to the Cats Memorial Hospital just because everyone was hurt. We were the house of the hurt last year. So hopefully that just doesn't happen this year.
I remember one game, that meme where it's like the really shitty house and then there's like the really nice Corvette like parked in the garage. That's how it felt with Dalvin Cook last year at points with whatever you were trotting out. I remember at one point you were starting Mo Alley Cox at tight end.
Yeah.
Mo Alley Cox turned out to be pretty good for about 2 weeks there, though.
Yeah, Mo Alley Cox was my longest tenured tight end last year. And he actually did catch like 2-3 touchdowns. So we're big Mo Alley. I might just draft him again this year. We'll see.
Big Cox guys.
Big Cox.
Right.
Well, there is the newly married man, Mr. Cody Jackson. He's another founding member of our league. He finished 8th last year, and it's kind of unfortunate for Cody. He made the playoffs the first 2 years of the league, and he's just kind of been sputtering in mediocrity since. He hasn't made since 2017, where he finished his best spot at second, where he lost to Gavin in the title game by about 5-ish points. And you wonder, maybe if Cody would have won that game, maybe Gavin's where Cody is and Cody's where Gavin's is.
I believe I broke his spirit back in 2017, and he's just never fully recovered since that point.
I wouldn't doubt it, Gavin. You never know how these things go. So, he still has a positive record, which is more than he can say for about most of the league, to be quite honest, at 42-35. But I think the bigger thing for Cody this year is that, he became the second dad in league history. So big round of applause.
Right. Congratulations, Cody.
For Mr. Cody. He had a beautiful baby girl about a couple months ago. So congrats to him on the new baby girl, and congrats to him on Aaron Jones as well.
Yeah. All I see is another distraction to help Broken Butthole win more games this year.
Yes, the league dumbass. Everyone has to have one, and this is ours. Enter Mr. Kyler Alderson, the founding member, the guy who we don't ever know if he's coming back for the last 6 years. We really haven't known. He was here, and we didn't know if he would be back. But he finished with one of his best seasons last year, finishing 11th place at 7-8. And you would say, why is that one of his best seasons? Well, because Kyler's never made the playoffs. He's the only person who's been here all 6 years who's not made the playoffs. But this year could maybe be the year. Every dog has his day.
I want to really give Kyler a shout out here, though, because it's really impressive with how much variance is in fantasy football to consistently be as bad as Kyler has been. It really takes some skill to consistently,
especially when you have the best player in fantasy last year, and that's Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. And it's incredible that he's gone 30-45 and even 40% over the last 5 years. And his best finish was 9th, which was the first year of the league. And I can tell you, after doing the research, his finishes have gone 9, 11, 13, 14, and now back to 11 again. So he actually never improved over the first 4 years of the league. He actually got worse from starting at 9th every single season. So maybe Kyler actually now has some momentum, and he could pull off a Colby Nelson, where he kind of goes from the lower tier of the standings and makes a big run, has a really good team.
I think Kyler also, nothing will ever break Kyler's spirit. I got to give that to Kyler. From all of these years of below mediocrity, he comes back this year still as optimistic as ever for better and mostly worse.
I know, and I think the whole league has their eyes on that Kyler T-Cam matchup.
That's
right. My goodness.
We now get that two times a year, baby.
2 times a year. And you, in the next episode of this show, we'll get to see T-Cam, and we'll mention that to him, and we'll see what he thinks about that. But that's for another time. We got to get on to Nick Fox. He's the relative baby of the group. He's only entering his 2nd season, and he had a really, really good season last year, finishing 6th place. Now, he lost his last 2 playoff games to finish 6th, and that took him from 7-6 to 7-8. So that kind of muddied up his record. But on a technical sense, he never missed the playoffs, boys. What do we expect from the Fox this year?
So last year, Fox's team, so starting off at the start of the year, he drafted a bunch of boomer bust guys. Like, his whole team was just boomer bust guys. Now, there's pros and cons to that. One, it looks like his boom guys were able to carry him to the playoffs. He didn't have a winning record, but still made the playoffs, still had a solid team. And then, I don't know, the Fox is kind of a wild card just because we've not seen a lot of tape from him. We've seen 1 year. What we've seen has been pretty good. He's made some questionable mistakes, rookie mistakes, but he He beat me in one of the best games of the year when Dalvin Cook had like 45 points and the rest of my team turned into a pumpkin, and then he won on a Rob Gronkowski touchdown. I'm still salty about. So yeah, what can I say? Fox has done all right for 1 year, but like I said, we've only seen him 1 year.
Well, I'll tell
Like,
you
yeah.
one thing. I
Go
had a
ahead.
game with him when I started Kendall Hinton because I'm an idiot, and I was being very desperate. You'll see why I was being very desperate here in a couple of slides. But he only won that game because I started Kendall Hinton. I could have started any other. I could have not started a wide receiver and would have beaten him then, and he would have been 6-7 on the season instead of 7-6 for his 2 playoff losses. So Fox is really kind of just hovering around 500. Has a lot of close games they lost, a lot of close games that he won. So it'll be really interesting to see which way luck breaks this year.
That's right. I think it's fair to say all three of us really don't know which direction Fox could go. He's pretty close to 500 as a manager, and realistically, I could just as easily see him going, not making the losers bracket or taking a run at the title this year. I don't know which direction Fox can go, but either direction seems equally likely.
Well, either way, what's on the menu is ass. Oh, baby. We have Nick Leonard up next. And I tell you what, Nick has been kind of one of those weird managers. He's been here since the beginning. He had a really good season last year, finishing 9-7, coming in 4th place. But he only has the 2 playoff appearances, the one last year, and then a really, really heartbreaking season in 2018, where he went 12-1 through the regular season. He lost his first game, route off the next 12, and then lost in the semifinals to undercut what would have probably been the best season in league history. Despite him only making the playoffs twice, he still boasts a 45-35 record. He usually is sitting around 6-7, 7-6, and whether or not he makes the playoffs is kind of just up to points at that point. But he has a great chance of being good with Christian McCaffrey this year.
Especially
the draft lottery coming up, and as long as he doesn't get the first overall pick, he got great value for CMC.
That's right.
Yeah, you can't discredit what Nick did last year. Obviously lost Christian McCaffrey really early last year. Still finished 4th place. It'll forever be the story of what could have been if Christian McCaffrey was healthy last year. There's no saying when Nick could have finished.
Not to mention the extra draft capital he acquired coming into this year, knowing that his team wasn't going to be great after losing Christian McCaffrey, is really a veteran move from Nick Leonard. And I think he can make some damage this year.
Again, you want to talk about how he got that extra draft capital?
No, I don't. That was entirely Russell Wilson's fault, not mine. We should move on.
Oh, well, there I am. Co-commissioner Sam had a really nice run of success for the past 2 years. And then last year, I just got my ass eaten by, we're going to just call it COVID. So I'm entering my 6th season. And last year I finished in 13th place and I was terrible. There's no other way to put it. I didn't draft well and I didn't make any good moves. So I finished 4-9 last year. I only have the 3 playoff appearances. I did make it not last year, but the year prior. But I am the only man in this league to win the title twice, going back in 2018, 2019, and I do have the 2nd best record in the league at 46-31. Not quite as good as Eli, but I'll take it. Also,
Sam,
I'm the only reason that we have a trophy in this league because I fundraised it.
I think that last point is the most impressive thing, honestly. The 2 titles, are super, super impressive, but your dedication and just perseverance to continue pestering people to fund our trophy was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. And now we have a trophy, and I appreciate the hell out of it.
No one in the league paid any money for that trophy. It was all from outside sources.
I also give Sam, you said you didn't make a single good move last year. I mean, you got a free 4th and you got a free 5th. What else?
Okay, I didn't make any good moves to make my team better for that season. I did trade Cooper Kupp to a Cup for a 4th to Drew because Drew is Drew. And then I did trade Michael Thomas halfway through the season while injured to Colby because Colby was trying to make a run at the title. And I originally traded Michael Thomas for a 4 But I also still wanted to kind of compete. So I traded. That ended up being a 5th by the end of the day. And now the last slide we got here is the man who won the whole thing last year, Mr. Tristan Campbell. He's entering his 6th season, and he finished an impressive 14-1 last year. He has his 3 playoff appearances. His best finish was obviously last year, and the 14-1 record skyrocketed his overall record to 42-37. We actually do have confirmation on the keeper. As we're sitting here right now, he will be keeping Tyreek Hill this year, but he's the only player to ever finish with 1 loss or less. So we will be interviewing him in the next episode. But what do we think about T-Cam before we hear from him?
I mean, last year, obviously one of the most dominant performances, probably the most dominant performance from start to finish that we've seen in this league. So I'd like to say he was helped out by kind of a Mickey Mouse path, just with all the injuries, COVID and that whatnot. But yeah, T-Cam's always a competitor. T-Cam, one of the best owners in the league, makes some pretty good moves. But that's one thing. He didn't even have to sell a lot of draft capital last year.
That's the most impressive part right there. That's the part that makes it more impressive to me, is he didn't lose anything in the process.
He went 14-1 based off of his own draft and a couple waiver guys, and that was it. And I mean, he killed it last year. There's really no way to say it other than he killed it.
That's right.
So Mr. Katzpom, I believe that you've told me that you have a manager comparison ranking for all the league owners based off of quarterbacks in the NFL. Would you like
that is correct? Let me pull.
If I'm Kirk Cousins, I'm gonna be so pissed, Katz.
Now, what I will tell you, Katz, is we only got about 8 minutes, so
okay,
gonna make sure we get through this.
We're gonna fly through this. I'm gonna do some brief explanation of the thing. You guys can kind of chime in. We'll start off with the first one, the last year's champ, the winner, T-Cam. We got Drew Brees. I mean, I put the one with the trophy because he is the champ. Always a steady competitor. Little on the safe side sometimes, I would say. But obviously paid off last year, won the whole title, gave up no draft capital. Probably should be back this year. He's always in the always gives his team a chance to make the playoffs.
I agree. Good comp.
I agree. That's a good comp.
Yeah. Next we got Colby Nelson.
Oh,
Jameis Winston. I mean, he takes big swings for the fences, home run hitter. Will also throw 38 picks in a season if you let him. I mean,
oh my God.
I think he's the biggest boomer bust manager we have in this league. So
A+.
I think that's only
A+.
right.
Perfect.
All right. Next, we got Gavin.
Kirk,
okay,
Cousins,
Gavin.
Kirk, Cousins, Kirk.
We got Donovan McNabb. I mean, solid, very solid. Has obviously proven winner. But just like how the Donovan McNabb, what was he carried by Andy Reid a little bit? Is Gavin carried by Devontae Adams? I mean, I think there's an argument. I would listen to it.
The people are asking.
Yeah.
People are asking questions. I'm just glad I'm not Kirk Cousins, so I at least got a little bit of respect here.
No, I think you're a little bit better than Kirk Cousins.
I can't believe we gotta wait to fucking pick 13 for this to see who I am. God dang it.
All right. So Nick Leonard, we got Cam Newton. So couple things. I put him in a Panthers jersey. I mean, a little bit carried by Christian McCaffrey, if you will. But the talent is always there, and I'm mainly talking about Christian McCaffrey. The talent is always there, but sometimes falls short in the playoffs. Has had a couple incredible years, but I mean, sometimes just falls a little bit flat.
And we haven't really seen Nick at the top of his game for a couple of years too, just like Cam Newton.
Exactly. All right. Next, we got Eli. We got Big Ben Roethlisberger. Always a competitor. You can't deny the talent, but not great leadership qualities. Let's see what else. One of the most hated members in the league.
I heard that he doesn't want to breed or help pull along a second commissioner. He just wants to always have the job and never give it up, no matter what.
There you go. I mean,
Oh, sweet Jesus.
the comparisons are seamless here. So next we got Fox. I put Justin Herbert. So last year, Fox, obviously what we've seen out of what we've seen has been pretty positive. Looks pretty good. Can he take the next step next year? We'll see. Made some rookie mistakes, but obviously, I mean, he's proven thus far to be one of the better managers in the league.
A lot of potential.
A lot of potential.
Exactly. Next, we got myself. I put Andrew Luck here.
Homer.
Andrew Luck, I mean, I feel like I'm a steady competitor in the league. Ruined by injuries last year, so we got Andrew Luck there. But I mean, I think I'm pretty stable. What do you guys think of the Andrew Luck, Mary? You guys can probably speak better than I can on that.
Well, Andrew Luck never won anything, so it makes sense.
Okay.
But he was good.
It's coming. It's coming, Sam.
I know it's the year of the Cats. Unless it's not.
All right. Next, we got Cody Jackson, Matt Ryan. I mean, nobody loves targeting Alabama guys like as much as Matt Ryan and Cody Jackson. But Cody, steady competitor as always. But I think he's better than people give him credit for. People want to point to the bad seasons and not really look at what he's done. I mean, what does he have, like the 4th or 5th best win percentage in the league right now?
I think that sounds about right.
Yeah. So that, I think Matt Ryan's a pretty good comparison for him. Next we got Hitch. I mean, we got Andy Dalton. I think this is probably the most spot on one yet, just because Hitch, no one gets excited about Hitch. Okay. I mean, he really, his only sort of success would have been his one playoff appearance, and he didn't win the playoff game. So
just like Andy Dalton.
Just like Andy Dalton. But next, Drew, Johnny Football. I mean, Drew, he'll talk a huge game, throwing up the money signs as you see, for not
some off the field
pretty
issues.
much no reason at this point.
He has some gambling issues too.
And he's got some gambling issues. Perfect. But next we got Kyler, Vince Young. I mean, he's got the talent. He's got the talent. Nobody denies the talent. Decision making is a huge question mark.
Yes.
Huge question mark. But I put Vince Young. Really, I'm talking about Alvin Kamara as the talent there. Always had the talent, but can't always put it together. Huge question marks with the decision making. But here's Dave. I just went ahead and threw Deshaun Watson on there, just because his nobody really knows if he's going to show up to the draft. Nobody knows if Deshaun Watson's going to play. So we got Deshaun Watson for him, and Andy loves Deshaun Watson, so it's like perfect.
It doesn't make any sense why he loves Deshaun Watson either. Deshaun
Yeah.
Watson's like a top 5 quarterback, but like he's number 5. So it doesn't make any sense. It's not like it's Mahomes.
Exactly. And now we got Sam.
Oh,
Sam,
God.
we got Russell Wilson for you. And here's why. So obviously 2-time champ, had a lot of success early. I think he's made a lot of questionable decisions, but I think it's overshadowed by the fact he is the 2-time champ. I mean, I think Russell Wilson, obviously always one of the best owners, whether it's knowing when to sell your team for draft capital and knowing when your team can make a run. I think Sam's one of the best at judging that. Russell Wilson's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So,
Well, I suck in the second half of the season then, I guess.
there you go.
Gavin is not salty about that at all.
I hate you, Sam.
All right, we got a minute left, Cats. So let's run through this last one and
We
wrap it
got
up.
Davis. I just went ahead and threw Christian Hackenberg on there just to kind of troll him. I mean, he's my rival. I figured I'd poke some fun at the guy. Andy's got he's got the worst win percentage in the league, right?
Yeah. Jared
Easy
Jared
concept.
left, so now that's Austin's distinction.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Christian Hackenberg, I mean,
Easy.
Who has
Really,
a
the only thing you can think of is the bad stuff when you think of.
does
Austin.
Christian Hackenberg have a higher completion percentage than Davis' win percentage?
It could be.
I don't know. All right.
That's
Well-
all I had for you.
we got to end this video because we are on a time constraint because Zoom is stupid. I want to thank everyone for coming in. I want to thank Gavin and Katz for putting in their insight. And we'll see you with a TCAM interview for our next episode. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time.